Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone. I don't know what the problem is with the phone lines. A lot of times when I have this particular guest on, for some reason they don't want us to talk, but we're going to talk anyway, and we're not going to hold anything back because I get a little aggravated at the way things happen, as my guest also does. And so the scripts that are going on, I just want whoever to know who's doing the scripts. It does not work. That's just like I always start the show talking about how we like your comments, and we like you to be part of the show, but we're not here for bashing. So we're going to get this straight, but in the meantime, we have a lot to talk about, and I'm sure it's going to be a little controversial. I have some questions that are going to put him on the spot, and I'm sure other people do too. So first of all, let's introduce my guest. His name is Stephen Sindoni, and he is a filmmaker and a researcher and many other things. So Stephen, welcome to the show. So when people try to get you to stop talking or stop you to do from whatever you're doing, just stay strong is my best advice for you, Stephen, and just kind of laugh in their face because the truth is going to come out, and it's going to come out more and more now, and you have helped the truth come out. So I'm going to ask you about your new undertaking, which is about the North Pole and the things that you found there, which is going to surprise a lot of people again. So we'll start that, and then I'll have some more questions for you. So let's talk about your latest adventure here.
Well, lately I was going in a different path. I was starting to develop a business plan, creating a comedy CD, and I was really getting away from the investigative. I was tired of getting my computer crash, changing my passwords every day, being followed, and all the things that go with being, I guess, what they call a mild-mannered Clark Kent, kind of a guy. And so I decided to take off my Superman cape for a while and not really to do any stories because I realized that I had done over 500 stories, and it was just, at that point I realized, it was time that I probably do something different because I felt people were still asleep and I would do something different. But what happened was I was in his studio one day, and I got an email from a gentleman by the name of Chris Baird. And he had watched some of my videos. He had watched, in particular, I think my videos on the Smoky God that I narrated, which was a story about Olaf Jansen. And he and his father, Jens Jansen, in 1829 took a sloop up to the North Pole and found an opening and ended up spending 2 years with the inhabitants of the inner Earth who happened to be 12 feet tall. So he had heard me do the narration on that, and then there was another story that I had done with Admiral Byrd's diary, which was an account. Whether it's real or not, I don't know, but I did the narration on that where Admiral Byrd had claimed to had flown his plane into a North Pole opening and a South Pole opening on two separate expeditions, and he met a race of superior civilizations in the inner Earth that gave him a message to come back to our president and our leaders with. So when Chris had contacted me about that, he had told me that he had gone to the Denver Museum, and the Denver Museum it's the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, and he took his kids there and to visit the Space Odyssey Center, and they were looking at a globe, and on the globe he noticed to take a look at Antarctica, and he saw a hole in the ice there, a large hole. It probably was, in his description, was at least 90 miles in circumference, wide and round. So it's a fairly large-sized hole that he saw there. So he had said to the man in the museum, "Do you realize this photo of this Antarctica here shows a hole?" So the guy was kind of like a little standoffish about it, like, yeah, I see it. And so he had taken a photo with it with his cell phone camera, and then he was watching a Discovery Channel documentary, and he saw a photo that they showed of another opening, possibly in Baffin Bay, and they took a photo of that as well. So now he contacted me on YouTube, and he asked if he could send me these photos. So I had no problem taking a look at them. So after that, we got on Skype together, and I decided I was going to talk to him about it because he wanted to know what my take was, what I thought. And I initially said, well, I don't know yet. I mean, looking at the photos, I like to do a little more research on it and just see what I come up with. And after I spend a little time on it, let me get back with you. Because at that point, I would have a better idea, Nancy, as to whether these photos look good, were they doctored. I look at things closely and dissect them before I make an opinion. Because I value my opinion, Nancy, as you know me now for a while, I don't give it away freely unless I love you to death. So I don't usually go out on a limb just to say something unless I've done my homework. So I did my homework on this, Nancy, and I started to realize that I needed to give it a closer look, and I did. And what I came up with was some interesting findings on that, and I ended up creating a video called the Baffin Bay Revealed. And in that video, I show the possibility that there could be an opening in that area based on the currents and the depth of the water.
See, a lot of people, Stephen, are going to go, oh, yeah, here's another guy who thinks he knows it all. And, you know, everybody's going to say, I've researched this and I researched that. People tend to not want to believe truth. And as they say, you know, truth is harder to believe than nonfiction, because everybody goes, oh, this is a nonfiction, that's easy. But the truth, which is fiction, is much, much harder to believe because it is there, but most people go, well, I can't prove it. But see, you do the research, Stephen. And that's the one thing that I really like about you, is that you do the research.
Well, interesting enough, thank you for that. But here's what I found out thereafter. I asked the next question. So I said, if Baffin Bay is a hot spot, and does our military know about it? Are they aware of it? Do we have any Air Force presence up there? Is there a base up there? So I started looking, and come to find out, I found an interesting situation, that there is a base in Thule there in Greenland, and that we have a presence there in Greenland. But in 1968, there was a Thule Air Base B-52 crash. And why this is important, because in 1968, Nancy, we were not in wartime, but an airplane which was carrying 4 loaded hydrogen bombs ended up in the bay. The plane had crashed. 6 of the 7 people on the plane, the pilot and the co-pilot and everyone on the crew, except for one man, went down with the plane. But the plane went down in Baffin Bay area. And then for the next year and a half, our Navy was up there with submersible types of ships searching underneath the bay to see what they can find. And their excuse was that one of the hydrogen bombs might be live or active. But the Greenland officials started to wonder, because the United States was acting in such high secrecy, that they had to ask them to leave after a year and a half. So what made me wonder was, Chris had mentioned to me, Chris Baird, after he saw my story about that, because I tied that in with the lost tribe of Greenland, Eric the Red's people that lived in Greenland that had left in the I don't know, I guess the 12th or 13th century, whatever it was, were in Greenland, and they decided to leave. But the Eskimos said that they left and went 30 days northward and found the milk of land and honey and never returned. So in the 1700s, when the people came from his country to Greenland, they found nothing whatsoever of any people, any graves, any bodies, nothing, no ships or anything. Eric the Red and 10,000 to 100,000 people mysteriously disappeared. And all they knew was that the Native Indians said, the Eskimos said, that they went 30 days north to a place where there was caribou, where there was game and hunting, where they could be self-sufficient. So I started looking at this closely, saying, well, if this mystery's never been solved in Greenland, and it's only a 30-day journey, and Eric the Red only had one or two of maybe three possible ships, it had to be close enough to be like a ferry boat to go back and forth in order to shuttle these people back. And then I thought, well, how many months of the year is the water in that area unfrozen so that they can make this trip? And when I found out, it was from like June to early September. So Eric the Red only had 90 to 120 days, a window of time, to get all those people out off the Greenland, the landmass there, and disappear completely. So when I saw that we had crashed a B-52 in Baffin Bay, and with nuclear warheads in a time of peace, and we're very secretive about it, and then I looked at the depth of the water, because if you go on Google Earth or some other satellite imageries, you can actually see the unusual depth of the water in the bay. Now, from my understanding, the waters in the bay are not as deep as the water in an ocean. So that triggered me to think, well, wait a minute, how can a bay be so deep? Why are they not listing this as an ocean, but it's only a bay? But then I looked at the water currents in this area, and the water currents were almost like when you flush a toilet bowl. It's like a vortex, and the currents were very, very strong. So that pretty much tied in with the Olaf Jansen and the Jans Jansen, his father's story, where when they came around Greenland, and they were following their compass, the compass ended up pointing downward. They lost all semblance of any directions whatsoever, and instead of getting colder, the weather was getting warmer.
Blog Talk Radio.